Taptajivanam Savivedikam Kalmashapaham Sharavanamalam Sharivadatatam Bhuvivananti Bhurirajana. Your words are like nectar, bringing life to squirt souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see all of you. All of you here. We're still on the chapter, the festival at Pānihāti, and the date is Sunday, July 22nd, 1883, and page 270. This is not the day of the festival, it's in the chapter, festival at Pānihāti, and Sri Ramakrishna has gone to Kolkata and he's visiting different homes. Now, and now he's back in his room. Let me see what happened. Okay. It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. M found Sri Ramakrishna seated on the couch in an abstracted mood. After some time, he heard him talking to the Divine Mother. The Master said, "O Mother, why hast thou given him only a particle?" Remaining silent a few moments, he added, "I understand it, Mother. That little bit will be enough for him and will serve thy purpose. That little bit will enable him to teach people." Did the Master thus transmit spiritual powers to his disciples? Did he thus come to know that his disciples after him would go out into the world and as teachers of men? Now, at this time, of course, M is in the room, Rakhal is also in the room. Not sure who else was there at that time. It's possible he was referring to M. This is my feeling. Rakhal, of course, was his spiritual son. No need to do much with him. But I have a feeling it was M, and M would never say, was the Master thus transmitting spiritual power to me? He would never say that. And it may be in general. When Thakur says things like this, we just have to guess a little bit. We don't know exactly what he's referring to. Rakhal was in the room. Sri Ramakrishna was still in a state of partial consciousness when he said to Rakhal, "You were angry with me, weren't you? Do you know why I made you angry?" There was a reason. Only then would the medicine work. The surgeon first brings an abscess to a head. Only then does he apply an herb so that it may burst and dry up. Now, I don't remember exactly, or we may not even know what took place here, but the relationship between Sri Ramakrishna and Rakhal was a very interesting one. That when Rakhal was in his presence, Rakhal felt like and acted like a small child, and Thakur looked upon him that way. This was the relationship that they had. That Rakhal would be one of the companions of Krishna, one of the cowherd boys. And one of the things that manifested out of this attitude of a small boy was jealousy. Sri Ramakrishna refers to it at different times, that Rakhal was jealous, that Thakur showed too much to love or attention or anything to the other disciples. He would get a little jealous. Now, this is not something that would be normal to him. He would go into a mood. This was the odd thing. They would both go into a mood that way. When they were in the presence of each other, that Thakur would become like a mother, like Mother Yashoda, and he would become like baby Gopala. So this was one thing. The other thing was that he didn't want anybody to look upon Thakur as an ordinary person. So one incident that we've seen is that when Thakur broke his arm, he wanted him to keep it hidden, and he didn't want the doctors to. He he thought that other people would, their opinion of Sri Ramakrishna would be lowered somehow if, like an ordinary person, he could injure his arm, something like that. So we have that interesting incident where Rakhal is trying to hide the arm, and the doctor comes and Sri Ramakrishna yells at, "Oh, come look, my arm hurts." So they had that, and very interesting relationship. He calls him his spiritual son. At the same time, didn't seem the least bit concerned that he was married, huh? And that he had a child. It's very strange how to understand this lila between Thakur and Rakhal. Very interesting. And he said, no, it won't injure him, and bring his wife one day, this and that. And all of the others, he's constantly talking about lust and gold, lust and gold. To Rakhal, he says, Rakhal and M. There's one time he's looking at both of them. He says, yes, go have a little fun with your wives every once in a while. Huh? Then after that, a child was born. So there's a very interesting relationship. And the other thing we know is that at one point, Rakhal went to Vrindavan. And he fell sick, fell ill when he was there. And Thakur was very concerned, very nervous. Why did he go there and everything? That he somehow thought that maybe he won't recover. And this seems to be this conviction that Thakur had, that if people had a certain spiritual mood or a spiritual attitude or came from a spiritual realm, and they went back there and were reminded of it, they would give up the body. Not ordinary people, these special people. So for this reason, he himself, he never went to Puri. He had, because he himself identified with Chaitanya Deva so much, and with Sri Krishna also. And so Rakhal, he thought when he went to Vrindavan that perhaps he got ill, perhaps it'll give up the body there also. So he was very nervous about that. And at one time, and it's interesting, in both in the Bengali version and in the English version, they don't mention Rakhal's name. They use a abbreviation, the first initial or something. I think they use G, Ga, in the Bengali for Govinda, meaning Rakhal. And talking about how a mother had to make you leave for some time. If you had stayed here, no one else would come because of your jealousy, this and that. And that was Rakhal. In the English, they also don't give his name at that time. And then later, of course, Rakhal, we see that he had different attitudes, different moods, that he could be very grave. People would be afraid to approach him, then very distant, and people would come and they would want to see him and ask for initiation. And he would say, no, tell him that I'm not feeling well, I have fever, come back another day. He would put them off over and over. Other times, children would come, he would play like he was a child with them. So he was a free soul and had his different moods. They say of all the direct disciples, he was most similar to Sri Ramakrishna in his spiritual attitude and his ability to have the ecstasy and go into different spiritual states and moods and things. After a pause, he went on, yes, I found a Hazra to be like a piece of dry wood. Then why does he live here? This has a meaning too. Hazra, we know, was a jnani. Now, jnani means he thought of himself as a jnani. And he didn't care for a lot of the puja and everything. And he would tell these young disciples that, what are you doing with puja? You're giving something that already belongs to the Lord. It's a waste of time, and you should be doing japa all the time, like I'm doing japa all the time. He used to sit outside the room and show off a little bit. It's that kind of bhakti. They just for show what a great spiritual person he was. And at the same time, he had a little bit of a debt, and he was always trying to get people to give money. And he had this theory that the Divine Mother not only will give love and devotion and everything, but she'll give money also. She has no lack of money. So anyhow, this was Hazra. And Thakur had these people hanging around. He didn't bother him too much. They were all either relatives or people from Kamarpakur nearby villages. They were also some village connection or family connection. They were all working at the temple. And there were others also, but the ones that we know of. So why does he live here? This has a meaning too. The play is enlivened by the presence of troublemakers like Jatila and Kutila. Now, I read the gospel so many times, I never bothered to really find out who were these people, Jatila and Kutila. Does anybody know? Huh? So I looked it up. Huh? Does anybody know?
Aren't they the guys who are always the bodyguards of?
No. These are two women, Jatila Kutila. That Abhimanyu was the so-called the husband of Radha. Huh? That means that he was the one that she was given in marriage to, and this is the mother. So this is Radha's mother-in-law, Abhimanyu's mother and sister. So his Radha's mother-in-law and aunt, huh? Jatila and Kutila, and they were always trying to make obstacles in the way of Radha going out to meet Sri Krishna. They thought she's married to my son and my nephew. That why should she be going out and meeting this other boy and everything? So there are different stories, I guess, in Bhagavata, different stories about how Jatila and Kutila would cause mischief and find different ways and tell stories and lies and different things so that Radha wouldn't be able to meet Krishna. So this is the role that Hazra is playing. Just sometimes he would say to kind of stir the pot, to thicken the plot. Huh? So this has a meaning too. The play is enlivened by the presence of troublemakers like Jatila and Kutila. That means he's comparing the Leela of Sri Ramakrishna to the Leela of Krishna here in a very subtle way. Huh? That just as he had these troublemakers to thicken the plot, huh? He also has his Hazra and others. To M. One must accept the forms of God. Do you know the meaning of the image of Jagadhatri? She is the bearer of the universe. Without her support and protection, the universe would fall from its place and be destroyed. The Divine Mother, Jagadhatri, reveals herself in the heart of one who can control the mind, which may be compared to an elephant. Rakhal, the mind is a mad elephant, master. Therefore, the lion, the carrier of the Divine Mother, keeps it under control. Now, there's a footnote that in the image of Jagadhatri, the lion, her carrier, is seen keeping an elephant under control. Now, Jagadhatri Puja is coming up. Huh? It's the 12th. Huh? The 12th, November 12th. That's when we have the Connecticut program, right? That Friday. Yeah. I was thinking recently how many different aspects of the Divine Mother Thakur identified the Holy Mother with. When we think about it, huh? First, Mother Kali. Huh? That incident where she was in his room and I think rubbing oil on his feet, massaging him somehow. And she looked at him and said, "How do you look upon me?" And I see the same one who was in the Nahabat, that meant his mother, and the same one who was in the temple in Bhavatarani Kali, and the one who was now rubbing my feet. I say they're one and the same. So he identified her with Mother Kali. Then he used to say that she was living in the Nahabat like Sita, huh? That after she was captured by Ravana. So he compared it with Sita. When he had a vision of Sita, he saw the bracelets that she had, and he had the same bracelets made for Holy Mother. So he identified her with Sita. He identified her with Lakshmi. Huh? Why? Because she loves jewelry. Don't you know why she loves jewelry? She's Lakshmi herself, the goddess of wealth. Huh? Then, who else? Saraswati. Huh? Saraswati. So, because Sharada in Bengali is spelled as Sara. So, the giver of truth, giver of wisdom. So he identified her that way. But also Jagadhatri. And Jagadhatri perhaps is the way in which Holy Mother identified herself, because this Jagadhatri Puja was started in Jagannathi during her lifetime. And they were only going to do it 1 year, but everyone loved it so much and they got attached to it and everything. And her mother was alive then, so they did it every year. So it's connected with Jagannathi also. And Thakur used to say that she's Jagadhatri. Why? Because now we have Jaya and Vijaya, not Jaya and Vijay. The Jaya and Vijay, they're the ones who are the gatekeepers who had to be reborn. But these are the two women companions of Jagadhatri. So he used to say that Golap Ma and Yogan Ma were her, and Jaya and Vijaya, that way. So we identify this Jagadhatri with Holy Mother also. Oh, and Durga. We can't forget Durga. Yeah, yeah. Shodashi Puja, of course, is a form of Mother Kali also, but a very benign form. Yeah. And we know that during the first Durga Puja at Bellarmat, how they brought Holy Mother there, and how all the monks, all of them, looked upon her as Durga. There's a nice incident that took place. I think it was the first. She was there for two different Durga Pujas, if I remember correctly. At the end, a coin is to be offered to Ma Durga, and they had forgotten to do that. Now, the brahmachari always does the puja for Durga Puja, not the sannyasi. So Sharad Maharaj, Swami Atmajnanananda, he called over the brahmachari and said, "Oh, we haven't offered the coin. Offer the coin to Ma Durga." So he took the coin, and then he's thinking, does he mean to Holy Mother or to the image? So he came back and he asked him, "You mean Ma Durga? You mean the image in the shrine or Holy Mother?" He said, "You fool! Of course, Holy Mother." So they went and offered it to her. So they felt that she was the living Durga. So partly, and of course with Sita, we know the incident in Rameshwaram, where she herself felt fully identified with Sita at that time. So one thing I think this shows is that Thakur looked upon all these different forms and aspects of the Divine Mother as one, not different deities or anything like that. And then from the very highest point of view, as one with the Brahman. We'll get to that also. It was dusk. The evening service began in the temples. Sri Ramakrishna was chanting the names of the gods and goddesses. He was seated on the small couch with folded hands and became absorbed in contemplation of the Divine Mother. The world outside was flooded with moonlight, and the devotees inside the master's room sat in silence and looked at his serene face. In the meantime, Govinda of Belghoria and some of his friends had entered the room. I don't think we know too much about this, Govinda of Belghoria. Sri Ramakrishna was still in a semi-conscious state. After a few minutes, he said to the devotees, "Tell me your doubts. I shall explain everything." Thakur could be very simple and very humble at certain times, but coming down from ecstasy, sometimes he could speak like that. There was one time when he said to somebody, "Tell me all of the sins that you've performed in this lifetime, and I'll free you from all of them." And that person couldn't do it, he said, sadly. So when he's in the mood, he could do anything. Govinda and the other devotees looked thoughtful. Govinda: "Revered sir, why does the Divine Mother have a black complexion?" So now referring to Mother Kali. Master: "You see her as black because you are far away from her. Go near and you will find her devoid of all colors. The water of a lake appears black from a distance. Go near and take the water in your hand, and you will see that it has no color at all. Similarly, the sky looks blue from a distance, but look at the atmosphere near you. It has no color. The nearer you come to God, the more you will realize that he has neither name nor form. If you move away from the Divine Mother, you will find her blue like the grass flower. Is Shama male or female? A man once saw the image of the Divine Mother wearing a sacred thread. He said to the worshiper, "What? You have put the sacred thread on the mother's neck." The worshiper said, and of course it's just for boys would get the sacred. Brother, I see that you have truly known the mother, but I have not yet been able to find out whether she is male or female. That is why I have put the sacred thread on her image. We have that Kamalakanta song, that Kokono Purusho, Kokono Prakriti. Yeah, mother, sometimes you appear as man, sometimes as woman, sometimes as Shunnarupa, as just as the void. Just to show how the different traditions explain things in different ways in India. There's a very interesting way that the Vaishnava tradition looks at this, form and formless, exactly reversed. Exactly reversed. They say that Sri Krishna is sitting somewhere and he sees somebody walking from a great distance and so far away that he can't make out see any face or the form, or doesn't know who it is. Closer he comes, the more he sees the form and the shape and all the details and everything. And he comes close enough, he says, "Oh, it's my friend Narada." Huh? And so the closer he comes, so they say there's a Brahman. We see Brahman, we see God as formless and without attributes because we're looking from a distance. When we get closer, then we see and have that intimate relationship. It's also a nice way of looking at it. Now, Thakur, if he heard that, he would also say, he'd probably go into ecstasy. Because for him, these weren't metaphysical truths. These were just different spiritual moods and attitudes, ways of looking at things. So this is also very nice that from a distance, we superimpose and we see things that aren't there. Water is always clear. Water is always formless, but it'll always take a form. You put color in it, it'll take that color. So both are true. This is his point of view. They're both true. That which is Shama is also Brahman. Very often they'll say Kali. And Shama means Kali, the black one. That which has form, again, is without form. Thakur used to give the illustration of water. That water is always formless, but it always has a shape. We never find it without a shape, right? The surface will be flat, always. The bottom will be whatever, if it's a lake, whatever the bed shape of the lake is. It'll have that form. That doesn't take away the formless nature of water. It has no form of its own. It takes somebody else's form. So both are true. So he would say Brahman is like that. That is formless, but it takes the form. What does it take the form of? The heart of the devotee. The container that we use to draw it from the lake. So that which has form, again, is without form. That which has attributes, again, has no attributes. Brahman is Shakti. Shakti is Brahman. Now, when he says Shakti, he's referring to the Ishvara form. That means not just power as some insentient thing, some force, some blind force or something, but he means that aspect of God that possesses that power. So it's another way of saying that Brahman and Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman, they're not two separate entities. They're not two different deities someplace. Huh? They're one and the same. So he uses this term.
Swamiji, in another place, Thakur had said that, God is formless, but you see those islands or blocks of ice in places, and that is
the same thing. When water forms a block of ice, it's still water, 100% water. And that form is not absolute. It can take all different types of forms, and it can also melt back into the ocean. He says when the sun of knowledge comes, it melts back into the ocean. I mentioned last time that the one exception was he said that some places are so cold that it never melts. They're eternal forms. We don't know exactly what the reference was, different lokas or something like that, but generally he would give that illustration with the blocks of ice, and it's the cooling power of the devotee that causes them to form particular blocks of ice. So one block of ice will be Krishna, one block of ice will be Rama, one will be Buddha, Christ, anything like that. and the sun of knowledge comes, they all meld back. So, or other times they're waves. They're all different waves on the ocean. And there's such a sophisticated understanding and allowing for all different modes of worship and all different schools of thought and everything, all included in this idea. So Brahman is Shakti. Shakti is Brahman. That was the great statement that he made to Narendra. Narendra didn't like this Kali business. He thought, who was Kali? She's some demon that is cutting off heads and wearing skulls and all of that. He thought a horrible idea, mostly because of the Brahmos and the British. Others didn't like that idea so much. And he said, look, this Kali is nothing. That which you call Brahman, I call Kali. Only with that power. So his idea was not that Brahman was nirguna and that Kali was saguna. His idea was that Brahman is both. Only when we say that the power and the attributes are not manifest, unmanifest, then we use the term Brahman. But they're always there potentially. Always there potentially. So the water always has the potential to form blocks of ice. That's part of the nature of it. And that can't be separated from it. This is why Shakti, Brahman and Shakti are abhed. They can't be separated out. You can't have milk without whiteness and whiteness without milk. These are some of the examples he used to give. So that which is Shama is also Brahman. That which has form, again, is without form. That which has attributes, again, has no attributes. Brahman is Shakti. Shakti is Brahman. They are not two. These are only two aspects, male and female, of the same reality, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. This male and female is a very ancient idea in the Vedic tradition, Vedantic tradition, Sankhya tradition, that there are two aspects of reality, and one will be active and one will be passive. One will be creative, one will be the conscious element, the other will be the Shakti element. So we have Shiva and Shakti together. We have Purusha and Prakriti in the Sankhya system. The female aspect will always be the nature aspect because the child comes out of the very body of the mother. The father has his role to play in the beginning, but doesn't even have to be present at the time of giving birth. So this is why we have this concept of mother nature. Mother nature, father time. Yeah, so the father aspect, male aspect, is always the transcendent, the beyond everything. Father can be even sleeping and completely unaware when the child is born. Mothers go through the whole thing. So this is a very common thing, and they go together. We have this Ardhanarishwara image, half male, half female. And another nice concept we get from Sankhya, this male and female, how they have to go together, Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is pure awareness. So they say Purusha is like a person who's lame but can see. And Prakriti is like a person who is blind but can walk. And they both want to go someplace. So the lame person gets on the shoulders of the blind person and directs the blind person what direction to go. And so they can both go together. So one without the other can't go. So we need them both together. And this is why image of Mother Kali standing on the chest of Shiva, who is lying like a corpse, unconscious. Because there's no the Shakti aspect is with Mother Kali, not with him. But they have to be in contact, because there's that unity. They have to be together. Okay, now Govinda asks another question. What is the meaning of Yoga Maya? Master, it signifies the yoga or union of Purusha and Prakriti. So this is what we're talking about. Whatever you perceive in the universe is the outcome of this union. Take the image of Shiva and Kali. Kali stands on the bosom of Shiva. Shiva lies under her feet like a corpse. Kali looks at Shiva. All this denotes the union of Purusha and Prakriti. So this, in the Sankhya system, they are separate. This is the one distinction between Sankhya and most of the Vedantic systems. There'll be two different categories. They'll be separate, but Purusha has to be present. We need the proximity. This is the way the language that they use. Otherwise, we have this idea that they belong to one and the same reality, or they can never be separate. They're two halves of the same coin, something like that. All this denotes the union of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is inactive. Therefore, Shiva lies on the ground like a corpse. Prakriti performs all her activities in conjunction with Purusha. Thus, she creates, preserves, and destroys. That is also the meaning of the conjoined images of Radha and Krishna. On account of that union, again, the images are slightly inclined toward each other. To denote this union, Sri Krishna wears a pearl in his nose, Radha a blue stone in hers. Radha has a fair complexion, bright as the pearl. They complement each other with the clothes and with the complexion. Sri Krishna is blue, his complexion. For this reason, Radha wears a blue stone. Further, Krishna's apparel is yellow and Radha's blue. So they mix and match. They look nice together. This philosophically, Thakur is saying that this perfect complement, how they just fit each other, and philosophically represent this Shakti, this is Purusha, Brahman and Shakti, or Shiva and Shiva Shakti and Purusha and Prakriti. Who is the best devotee of God? It is he who sees, after the realization of Brahman, that God alone has become all living beings, the universe, and the 24 cosmic principles. Okay, this is another strong conviction that Sri Ramakrishna has. He mentions it in different places, in different ways. We read a few weeks ago, I think, Thakur talking about 3 different types of devotees. Huh? What were they? Huh? Yeah. Who's the inferior one? God is up there. Huh? Points to the heavens. God is somewhere far away. Then the second one, God dwells within the heart. Now, very often we would think that that'll be the highest. God is my very own self. God dwells within the heart. But he says, no, the very highest one who sees that God has become everything. Yeah. So this is the distinction we have between jnana and vijnana. We find sometimes there's a question, which is higher, the state of jnana or the state of vijnana? Now you're saying vijnana, but jnana is the state on the roof. You have to come down from the roof a little bit to get to the state of vijnana. So there's an argument to be made there. But you can't get to that state without getting to the roof first. Huh? So coming one step below the roof before getting to the roof is not the same as one step below afterwards. So we can say that it's the jnana state is a higher state if we think that means the ultimate samadhi, that act merged in Brahman in that state. But this is a more mature state. This is and very few can come back so easily and go back and forth and have that type of experience. We can see the divine in everything from a romantic point of view. Ah, yes, how wonderful! I see the divine presence everywhere. But there's not the same as the vijnani. The Thakur, he saw everything's chinmaya. He saw everything is just living, pulsating consciousness. So the jnani can say, yes, I see that the self within all beings is consciousness alone. That God dwells within the hearts of all beings, that everyone is Rama, Sita, and every man and every woman. But this is something a little bit different. That not only do I see that, but I see this very body that is being inhabited by God is also nothing but manifestation of that same divine presence. So Thakur looked upon this as the highest type of attitude. It's a step down from the roof, it's a step down from there, but still something higher, something beyond, we can say, something that goes beyond even that state of the jnani. For Thakur, that ultimate truth of the state of jnana involves a little bit of this idea of the unreality of the world. And he says that's not the final truth. That's only meant to get us to the roof. It is not meant to be a final truth. He likes this Sarvam Kalavidam Brahma, where Shankaracharya doesn't. Shankaracharya could have easily made that one of the four Mahavakyas. All of the Mahavakyas have to do with the nature of the self, nothing to do with its external world. But this Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, everything indeed, everything that we see is nothing but Brahman itself, or a manifestation of Brahman. Upanishads had both of these points of view. Not that Shankaracharya didn't accept that, he didn't argue against it or anything, but for him, his focus was go deep within. Focus was don't get attached to this world. See, we have these teachings about the unreality of the world. What is the importance of that teaching? Is it that literally we want to see everything is just the illusion, or is it that we want to cut off the attachment which keeps us bound to the world? We have to understand that the secondary meaning of things is sometimes more important than the first meaning. I think with regard to the snake in the robe, primary meaning that is that we're not seeing things correctly. Secondary meaning is we're scared to death. We think there's a snake. And to me, this captures the essence of the experience of living in this world without knowing the divinity behind it, without some sense of discrimination and detachment and everything. How fear comes. They say everything in this world is filled with fear except for one thing. Saram vastu bhayamritam bhuvi narnam vairagyam eva abhayam. Only this detachment and attachment to God and feeling of renunciation, looking upon this world a little bit as a dream, something passing. Thakur always emphasizes the transitory nature. It's fleeting. Don't get attached to it. You get attached to it, it may bite you like the snake. Yeah.
In Gita, there is another state called program state. Program is this kind of even above the kind of state.
What state?
Program.
Prajna, so state of prajna you're talking about. Yeah. No, state of prajna state is one particular state of the Jivan Mukta. The Jivan Mukta can be of all different types. This is one particular model, you could say, archetype. This is one particular archetype of the God-realized soul who is calm and peaceful and not attached to anything. Steady in wisdom, firm, established in samadhi and everything. Thakur talks about, like the madman and the child and the ghoul and their thing. So this is the Stita Prajna model. It's not the only possible one. Thakur himself and Swamiji, perhaps even more, they have all of the qualities of the Stita Prajna, but at the same time, they can have their ups and downs, and they can all different other things, like the child, like the madman. Thakur could, we won't find a description of Stita Prajna as somebody who's wobbling back and forth like a drunkard. We don't find that there. Does that mean that's not a characteristic of a God-realized soul? There's so many different types. So this is just one. The Gita emphasizes more this calmness, equanimity. That's the more the dominant theme. Practice of following our dharma and everything is also a secondary theme. But in terms of God realization, that it'll be this calmness, equanimity, same-sidedness, no big ups and downs and things like that. So that's this prajna. Prajna is a type of very quiet wisdom and calmness, contentment, all of these ideas. So Thakur, he's asking the question himself, who was the best devotee of God? It is he who sees after the realization of Brahman. So there's something that even beyond that, we can have the realization of Brahman and never come back from it, or never even question what is the nature of the world. We can come back. There are God-realized souls who come back and still don't want to mix with people. They'll remain in a cave someplace, and there are or something like that. So after the realization of Brahman, that God alone has become all living beings, the universe, and the 24 cosmic principles, one must discriminate at first. Now, this is that neti. This is that idea that Brahman alone is real, the world is unreal. Thakur takes this statement, the world is unreal, as a provisional truth to be followed as we're climbing the steps to get to the roof. He doesn't take it as a final truth. At most, he'll say this world is insubstantial, constantly changing, transitory, nothing to get attached to. He'll say that, but not something to be absolutely denied and illusory and to be rejected. He says in the beginning, we protect ourselves from it, but afterwards, we embrace it. In the beginning, we hedge ourselves around. We're very cautious about who we mix with and everything. Afterwards, you can tie an elephant to the trunk. Then we can do anything. So one must discriminate at first, saying, not this, neti, and reach the roof. After that, one realizes that the steps are made of the same materials as the roof, namely brick, lime, and brick dust. The devotee realizes that it is Brahman alone that has become all these, the living beings, the universe, and so on. Now, the question, of course, is that once we get to the roof, do we even have any sense of I? Do we have, or are we just merged there? There has to be a little bit of a gap there, a little bit of a space, a little drinking a few drops of the water without jumping in. Thakur gives so many different examples. Getting to the top rung and looking over without completely taking our foot off the last rung. We don't know how to explain these things. Sometimes Thakur says that this idea of getting to the roof, merging in samadhi, and not coming back, this is for the yogi, not for the bhakta. So we have all different ways of understanding these things. He wasn't a philosopher to lay down one consistent theory and just talk about it. It's so many different ways of looking at it, and he explained it differently at different times and everything. Then Thakur says, mere dry reasoning, I spit on it. I have no use for it. The master spits on the ground. Mukamrita. Do they use that term there? The nectar from his mouth. In one of the places I remember. Mukamrita. See, this is M. He had such regard for Sri Ramakrishna, even the spittle from his mouth. It was like nectar. Oh, that reminds me of another thing. Remember when Thakur was so ill with the throat cancer, and they had to keep a spittoon near him, and blood. This is horrible to think about it, but this tumor, it got so bad that it really broke through, and sometimes the blood would come. It was beginning on the outside, it would go through, and it would get mixed in with his spittle, and he would spit, and there would be blood there. And somehow this rumor started that this was contagious. And nobody knew exactly. Few people knew it was cancer. Dr. Sharkar and others. Other people had all different theories and everything. So there was some slight hesitation on the part of some to get too close to him. Maybe they'll catch it, this and that. So what did Narendra do? He drank from it, just to show that what a foolish idea that you could catch something from being near this. Watch, I'll drink it, and you'll see nothing will happen to me. Plus, that devotion to Sri Ramakrishna, Mukamrita. This is this is like drinking nectar. Mere dry reasoning, I spit on it. I have no use for it. The master spits on the ground. Why should I make myself dry through reasoning? So this is, again, back to this idea. Reasoning for Thakur means this world is unreal, Brahman alone is real. That type of reasoning. The other type of reasoning that what is really worthwhile in life, what is there to hold on to, this body is impermanent. That type of reasoning said we should always do. The finite nature of this world and transitory nature and everything. But this philosophical reasoning that this world is unreal like a dream, he didn't care for that attitude very much. He would, if some jnanis came, he would tell stories about it, and sometimes he recognized it as a path and knew the value of it, but preliminary value. This is why he always said, this is just while climbing the steps. It is not the view that we get after getting to the roof. After we get to the roof, we find that everything is real, everything is divine, everything is a manifestation of Brahman. Why should I make myself dry through mere reasoning? May I have unalloyed love for the lotus feet of God as long as the consciousness of I and you remains with me. Now, as long as. Now, what he's saying is that I know as soon as the sense of I disappears, then Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, there's nothing else. That is true. There's absolute, there's no question. He's not a dualist philosophically. I mentioned this very beautiful comment that was made by Swami Atmajnanananda, that he said that we're, how did he put it? The Dvaitavadins and Dvaitakarins. That in terms of philosophically, we accept it as non-dualism, but in terms of practical spiritual practice and also serving others and everything, then we can take this dualistic point of view. Dvaitakarins, Dvaitavadins. Nice idea. So as long as this consciousness of I and you remains, this was his idea, that his I is like the stick on water. It separates one side from the other. So he would pray to the Divine Mother, don't remove completely the sense of I want to enjoy the company of devotees. I want to enjoy communion with you. So the spiritual attitude, everything with Thakur was an attitude. Moni ekota, everything was all the question of the mind and whatever. Jamal Bhav Temni Lab, everything is a question of our spiritual attitude. There was no ultimate philosophical truth for Sri Ramakrishna other than realization. What is the truth of Brahman? Brahman itself is the truth of Brahman. Nothing that we say about it, no doctrine or anything. That's why Swamiji said that this is beyond all doctrines and schools of thought and everything. It's just being and becoming direct realization. To Govinda, sometimes I say, thou art verily I, and I am verily thou. The non-dualistic point of view. Again, I feel, thou art thou. Then I do not find any trace of I. Now, if we take this to its ultimate conclusion, the Jnani, he says, I am Brahman, but Brahman alone exists. So what do we do about that? I am Brahman, a little bit of a feeling of separation, or a little bit of sense of I. What do we mean by that I? If we really analyze, then we say, oh, really, When I say I am Brahman, it means that I don't exist at all. Brahman alone exists. Now, for Thakur, because he liked this attitude, he would say, sometimes I see mother and her child are both there. Other times I see mother alone is there. When this I disappears. So the real the jnani who's had that ultimate realization, will he go around saying Aham Brahmasmi, I am Soham? Maybe just out of habit or anything, but really this Aham, that'll be gone. That'll be gone. Brahman alone exists. So sometimes I say, Thou art verily I, and I am verily thou. Again I feel, Thou art thou. Then I do not find any trace of I. It is Shakti alone that becomes flesh as God incarnate. So this is another teaching that we won't use this term that Brahman comes down and manifests. Because Brahman is by definition just pure consciousness, transcendent, inactive, all of that. It'll have to be the Shakti aspect. So we have the doctrinal Shakti Parinamavada. That this is not that Brahman has become all of this, but the Shakti aspect of Brahman has become all this. Brahman itself remains transcendent, unchanged. So the Shakti aspect, these are all just things for philosophers to bother about. According to one school of thought, Rama and Krishna are but two waves in the ocean of absolute bliss and consciousness. See, Swamiji says these things, and we know exactly where he got it from. Some of the lectures he gave in the West, he would make statements like that. He'd say Christ and Buddha are nothing but two waves in the ocean of consciousness. Chaitanya, consciousness, is awakened after Advaita Jnana, the knowledge of the non-dual Brahman. Then one perceives that God alone exists in all beings as consciousness. After this realization comes Ananda, bliss, Advaita, Chaitanya, and Nityananda. This is a very nice way of explaining. These are the three main figures of the Gaudiya Vaishnava school. This first Advaitacharya, he was really the founder of the movement, in the same sense that John the Baptist was really, we can trace back the early Christianity and everything to him. He baptized Christ, but played, of course, a minor role other than that. So the Advaitacharya, he was the one who started this little group of Vaishnavas in the town, Nadia and Navadvip. And in the beginning, Chaitanya Deva, he didn't like these people at all. And he would go and make fun of them, and they were afraid of him. They would hide from him, run away from him, and everything. And then he had this complete turnaround. His father died. He went to Gaya, same place where Thakur's father went. And he met his guru, Ishwara Puri, and was initiated, and he came back, completely changed person. And then joined that group, and then, of course, became the most important person. But this Advaitacharya was senior to him, and was really, we have to credit him. And now we trace back so many of the Goswamis to the line of Advaitacharya. And the Nityananda. So he's saying this Advaita. First we have this the knowledge, and then Chaitanya, then awakening, and then bliss. Nityananda was his main companion. We refer to them as brothers. They weren't brothers. Tara Duhai. There are all these songs like that, as if brothers. Chaitanya Deva had one brother who also renounced the world, and then I think there were 10 others that died. This is why there's all these stories of the Nimai sannyas, the sannyas of Chaitanya Deva is so touching, thinking of his mother, who lost all of the children, and then his older brother left the world to become a monk, and he was the only one left. And then how to tell his mother, he's 24 years old, she's an old mother, and how to tell her that he's also renouncing the world. So all these songs, the beautiful songs, have been composed in Bengali songs, and they put on the big performances, this Nimai Sannyasa.
She was 24.
He was 24. If she had 10 other children, or 12 children, you can imagine how old she would have been, unless it was one every year. And then her husband had died also, so it was all alone. And Chaitanya Deva, he wouldn't go unless she gave permission. It was a very sad thing. Huh? And then finally he had to tell her, whenever you want to see me, you'll be able to see me. And then I'll go to Puri, where you can easily get word. Devotees will go year after year, go back and everything, and let you know how I'm doing and everything. And finally she said, okay. So anyhow, the beautiful interpretation of Advaita, Chaitanya, and Nityananda. To M, let me ask you not to disbelieve in the forms of God. Now, M was I guess a formal member of the Brahmo Samaj. I don't know, was he? But anyhow, connected to Keshav through marriage also. That his wife was connected, some relative of Keshav, and would go there all of the time. Whether he actually signed the pledge, probably he was a member. I don't know exactly. But anyhow, they don't believe. So this accepting the form, disbelieve the forms of God. Forms of God for them meant that images. This images in the temple, what they call idol worship. Now, it can also mean that they didn't accept the different deities, devas and the devis and all of that. There was a conversation between Dayananda Saraswati and Keshav once. This is related, Thakur relates it, I think. And Dayananda Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj. And they accepted these Vedic deities. Although they didn't do that type of puja or anything, like modern Hinduism, they would do this havans, things like that. But he said to Keshav that, look, the Lord created so many different things. Couldn't he have created these gods and goddesses as well? It's a good argument. So he's not saying to believe in it. He says not to disbelieve. What's the Bengali? Avishwas korana. Don't have any lack of faith in it. He's not saying you have to accept it, but don't deny it. Yeah, don't have some strong feeling that it's not possible. He used to tell them, it's enough if you believe that everything is possible with God. So let me ask you not to disbelieve in the forms of God. Have faith in God's forms. Meditate on that form of God which appeals to your mind. Now, meditating on a form of God and believing in the objective reality of that particular deity are two different things. They're two different things. Swamiji says in one place that there's so many different artistic conceptions of the devas and devis and everything, so that one will appear to our mind and we can meditate on that. So there's no limit we can put to the different types of waves on this ocean of Satyananda, and we can have this subjective view that this is the way I like to think of God. I like to picture God this way. Not that I'll have this conviction. No, this is exactly what God looks like. That you say 6 arms. No, it's 10 arms. Sorry, that's your mistake. It's not exactly like that. And then we also don't like to think that, oh, there's just some heaven where they're like the Greek gods or something. They're all sitting around together, and this kind of mythological presentation. Thakur was much more sophisticated. There's one divine reality can appear in many forms, or we can conceive of it in many forms. So meditate on that form of God which appeals to your mind. To Govinda, the fact is that one does not feel the longing to know or see God as long as one wants to enjoy worldly objects. Now we're getting to more important things, the very practical things. The child forgets everything when he plays with his toys. Try to cajole him away from play with his sweetmeat. You will not succeed. He will eat only a bit of it. When he relishes neither the sweetmeat nor his play, then he says, I want to go to my mother. He doesn't care for the sweetmeat anymore. If a man whom he doesn't know and has never seen says to the child, Come along, I shall take you to your mother. The child follows him. The child will go with anyone who will carry him to his mother. This is the most important aspect of mother worship. It's not this philosophical idea. I mean, that's important also, that mother gives birth to the child, so this Shakti gives birth to the whole universe. But this attachment that the child has to the mother, and the unselfish love that the mother has for the child. If we can replicate that in our attitude towards God, then it'll be a very smooth and simple type of thing. Our devotion will be very deep. The soul becomes restless for God when one is through with the enjoyment of worldly things. Bhoganta, this is a concept that we read over and over and over again. How do we do this? How do we reach the end of enjoyment? Sometimes we stuff ourselves. Sometimes the mother says to the child, okay, you like ice cream? Here's a gallon of ice cream. You eat and eat and eat and eat till you get sick. And then you'll get sick and then you'll say, I don't even want to look at it anymore. In one way, they're a little dangerous. The other way is we use our discrimination. But Bhoganta, really, it's almost as if we have a quota. And we reach that quota and we say, okay, now I've seen through it. This is why we have the Garhastya stage, where we have our Artha and Kama. We're allowed to fulfill our desires and see through the desires and see how useless most of them are. So then we reach this Bhoganta state, where we've reached the end of our enjoyment. It's a very important concept, a nice way of putting it. The soul becomes restless for God when one is through with the enjoyment of worldly things. Then a person has only one thought: how to realize God. He listens to whatever anyone says to him about God. M to himself. Alas, the soul becomes restless for God only when one is through with the enjoyment of worldly things. And that brings us to the end of that day. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukham Bhatudha Vikraham Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namah. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.